South Africa awoke to a political bombshell this morning, with Helen Zille moving into the limelight with what she referred to as the untold story of Dr. Nkosazana dlamini Zuma's recent arrest in a foreign nation. What many had relegated to a minor diplomatic misstep has now blown up into a scandal that promises to shake the pillars of the African National Congress (ANC) and destabilize the already shaky politics of the nation. The country had been made to believe that Dlamini Zuma's temporary arrest overseas was an ordinary administrative issue, either a visa mistake or an administrative problem. However, Zille's bombshell revelations offered a very different picture, one of clandestine negotiations, dubious financial deals, and diplomatic undercurrents that had allegedly been simmering for many years. At a high-stakes press conference in Johannesburg, Zille, a veteran political analyst and occasional ANC critic, did not hesitate. Camera snapped angrily as she made charges that could echo far beyond the borders of South Africa. This arrest was no accident, no mistaken identity, and certainly not petty political harassment, she stated, her voice firm. It was the culmination of years of untrammeled political power, shady dealings, and clandestine operations that finally caught up with one of the ANC's most veteran leaders. The arrest was preceded by months of quiet, high-level investigations by international authorities. Zille reported the investigations were said to have followed Dlamini Zuma's activities in suspicious offshore transactions, hidden financial connections with foreign business leaders, and politically motivated arrangements that cut outside official diplomatic protocol. Zille contended that these backroom agreements had put South Africa's reputation on the line, cautioning, the ANC may try to spin this whatever way they like, but the facts are clear. This is not political victimhood. This is about a top politician who felt she was above the rules. It's about accountability finally catching up. Fueling the fire, Zille disclosed that she had corroborated leaked diplomatic cables using her global sources. The cables, she alleged, indicated that foreign intelligence agencies had prepared a fat file on him, Dlamini Zuma, recording suspicious travel activity, sudden surprise movements of wealth and connections to influential business circles abroad. The suspected dossier, if it exists, may offer a paper trail linking Dlamini Zuma to corruption networks across several nations. ZH went on charging ANC leaders to go into full-blown crisis mode as soon as they found out about Dlamini Zuma's arrest. In her view, senior officials scrambled behind the scenes, supposedly using back-channel talks to get her released before the public got wind of the whole story. This was not business as usual diplomacy, Zille declared. This was one of the most desperate and embarrassing pieces of political damage control in recent history. She accused the party of intentionally deceiving South African citizens, covering up the incident as a simple immigration or paperwork matter. In fact, she contended this was a high-profile arrest with strong corruption suspicions. The ANC preferred secrecy to honesty in an attempt to contain scandal that would jeopardize its own survival. The reaction within ANC offices was swift and hot. Local reporters quoted sources from Latuli House, the party's headquarters, to say that there was panic among the leadership group. Emergency sessions were summoned and several insiders said that several party people broke down in tears. Their tearful responses, sources added, were not merely about how serious the allegations were, but about what the scandal might do to the credibility of the party, which is already low in the run-up to an election season. At the same time, everyday South Africans took to social media to express anger and shock. Hashtags such as #ZilleBombshell, #Dlamini Zuma arrest, and #ANC dominated the national trending lists for hours. Social media forums were washed with calls for accountability and openness. Most users blamed the ANC for breaking the country's trust, while others ceded at what they saw as decades of systematic corruption and lies. Memes ridiculing the party leadership and demands for independent probes filled platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Political analysts were swift to intervene, cautioning that the backlash over these disclosures might be disastrous for the ANC. The party has been suffering from declining public confidence, internal wrangling, and accusations of graft over the years. These allegations, they contended, might be the tipping point. This scandal could potentially cause irreparable harm, political analyst Tendo Makai said in a local newspaper interview. At a moment when the ANC is struggling to remain relevant, this would split the party further and mobilize the opposition. There are some experts who believe that Zille's press conference may have been planned at the right time. With the elections approaching in 2026, currents within the ANC are already maneuvering for power and leadership roles. The disclosure could scuttle any last political hopes Dlamini Zuma might have had, including rumors of a leadership bid or a high-level cabinet job. Her political life might as well be over, said Professor Neely Kuna, a political scientist at the University of Cape Town. Even if she gets off legally, the court of public opinion is much less lenient. Opposition parties were quick to take advantage of the scandal, demanding immediate parliamentary probes and criminal charges. Democratic Alliance, DA, and Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, leaders released statements decrying what they said was a course of deception and abuse of power by the ANC. Some went so far as to say President Ramaphosa himself needs to answer if he had foreknowledge of Dlamini Zuma's actions or the claimed cover-up. Civil society groups also joined the debate. Corruption Watch and the organization Undoing Tax Abuse or UTA made joint calls for a panel of experts to probe the charges, saying that if the government did not act swiftly, it would undermine public trust in government even more. South Africans are sick of being lied to. Outer CEO Wayne Duvan said this scandal is bigger than one arrest. It's about the culture of impunity that's taken hold at the very top. For many ordinary citizens, the scandal feels personal. In interviews conducted on Johannesburg streets, several people expressed anger and disappointment. We keep voting for these leaders and they keep betraying us, said a shopkeeper in Soto. Another citizen added, if what he says is true, then we need a total overhaul of our leadership. Enough is enough. If these allegations are true, this may turn out to be one of the ANC's most damaging corruption-related blows in its democratic era. It could also signal a turning point in South African politics, a moment at which the public's tolerance finally wears out and calls for reform become impossible to suppress. With the nation watching and waiting for what comes next, the question now is not only whether Dlamini Zuma's career will endure, but whether the ANC itself can ride out another earthquake scandal, rattling its very foundations.